Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tex Messages on the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here. It's Wednesday evening, November 29th, 2018. November 28th, excuse me. Glad to have you here once again. Glad to be here. It's another nice and cool day outside today. A little bit of snow outside. But, that's ultimately what makes Minnesota great again. You have the four seasons: spring, summer, fall, road construction, and of course, with the road construction season comes the freezing. Correction, ladies and gentlemen. You have fall, winter, spring, and road works. Actually, it's usually just winter and road work season. That seems to be how it goes. So, anyone who's ever commuted anywhere around the Twin Cities metro area pretty much has a good idea that if it's winter time and there's about 2 drops of snow on the ground, you're going to get some massive traffic jam, even if you're driving at 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, any other time of the year, you're probably going to have to deal with 4 lanes being cut down to 1 lane, or just random roads blocked off with no detours. So, just how it goes. That's part of modernization, living in a free industrial country, and making America great again. Investing in infrastructure. Speaking of that though, there's one thing that should be touched upon just briefly here, ephemerally. So, as far as artistry and individual expression, you could call it. Now, some people choose to do it in methods like tattoos and piercings and other, sometimes identity pets as well. There are some pets out there where it's difficult to understand the incentive behind owning them other than to create an identity for yourself. For example, Jake the Snake Roberts. He didn't really want to carry around a king cobra with big fangs, and hopefully the snake was devenomized, but he also didn't want to carry around a giant python and leave it in bathtubs, but ultimately it's part of his identity, so he had to do it. It made him a very wealthy and famous person. But, just individuals that have strange pets inside their own homes, for example, like exotic iguanas, for example. Yeah, there are a few people out there who do enjoy pets like that, but for the most part, it seems to be a pet where you can just say, hey, I own an iguana, congratulations to myself and to my family and community and country. But, it seems to be very little incentive other than to claim ownership of a pet like that. Yeah, if you can prove me wrong, that'd probably be great, but some of these pets are just weird and goofy, like a hermit crab, for example. Yeah, you get to look at it and it moves around, and sometimes it'll get out of its shell or whatever, but for the most part it just sleeps all day and it's a captive and a prisoner, and probably doesn't even have enough sense to get Stockholm Syndrome. So that definitely, at least most pets have the insight and wherewithal to get Stockholm Syndrome. Cats and dogs, they're perfect at it. Dogs are a little better than cats. But as far as a turtle, for example, he or she ain't gonna know the difference whether they're out in the Galapagos Islands or whether they're in Big Joe Rosso's 50-gallon fish aquarium. They just know that they're gonna swim around and eat food and plankton and bugs and mosquitoes and sleep and maybe procreate if they're lucky. Then that's basically the life of a turtle. Now, if a bottle of ooze were to somehow get shattered and come into contact with them, then they grow legs and get ninja skills and then go out and start fighting crime in New York, their life will be pretty exciting. And hopefully exciting enough to maybe make a cartoon out of it, a couple full-length feature films, maybe a few sequels to the cartoons. They'll have a pretty interesting life. But getting back to individual expression. So, yeah, you can get tattoos, piercings, all that good fun stuff. Now, usually I steer clear of things of that nature because, you're introducing artificial foreign substances in your body and you don't really know if they're going to have any side effects or ramifications to it. So, just for something like, putting a tattoo on my face that would look cool. Yeah, it looks cool and everything, but not really sure that it's worth the health sacrifices to get involved in that. And, as far as that's even concerned too, shampoo and things of that nature, endocrine disrupting. Shampoos are proven to be endocrine disruptors. They get onto your receptors and sometimes they'll mimic the hormones and cause all kinds of big problems inside all your vital organs and your system. So, yeah, I'll usually go no shampoo for a while. During winter time, it gets a little bit difficult though because the air outside is a little drier and the water gets a little drier. But as you saw in previous episodes, when you get the room humidity correct, you don't have to deal with the dryness of the air inside your house. So, as far as health goes, it's just a good idea to avoid some of those beauty products. And especially injections, like putting silicone into your face or your arms or your legs or your ass or your chest or something like that or your stomach. Maybe it looks good to some people, but if you're, it's just introducing artifacts into your body. It's nothing good can really come out of it. If you're trying to attract people that are attracted to that kind of thing, you may want to reevaluate that strategy as well. But it's big business. Who am I to actually driving home from Maple Grove, driving from Maple Grove into Rogers here and then getting off on 101, heading up north towards the Princeton Speedway. There's actually a sign that says breast augmentation, and it shows a female who's probably in early teens, mid-teens. And breasts probably haven't even grown to their full size yet. So I'm not even sure why there would be incentive behind that. But yeah, if there's evil marketers behind it, there's certainly somebody who will fall for it. Hell, I fell for eating candy and sugar constantly as probably 80% of my daily caloric intake at 3, 4, 5 years old, and I saw the deleterious effects of it. Now, when you're younger and you're developing and all that good fun stuff, things can go sideways pretty quickly. When you're older, your body's reached more of a steady state. Your growth plates are fused, all that good fun stuff. Bad health effects don't really manifest themselves immediately as they would in a developing body. That's why women that are pregnant and nursing aren't supposed to eat and do certain things that apparently everybody else can do. Usually when you see that signal, it's a good sign that basically nobody should probably do it. Like, for example, women shouldn't take an MRI. It probably won't be a bad idea for nobody taking an MRI if that's the case then. Unless you got some serious medical issue that you absolutely need to take an MRI and you're convinced that it's going to help you and rectify the issue, then it's probably a good idea. Like everything, there's a downside and there's an upside. If the upside significantly outweighs the downside, then it's worth pursuing that avenue. So, getting back to personal expression though, one of the things that I occasionally do sometimes, especially maybe not so much lately, but usually just watching cars drive by on the freeway, especially, well, not race cars, but on the freeway. But watching race cars at a racetrack, that's pretty fun. And one of the interesting things about the race cars at a racetrack is they all have their own individual artwork and graphic wraps around them and everything too. Yeah, they got numbers and they got sanctioning body and track sponsors and all that good fun stuff that they're required to have by the WSOTA, IMCA, DTRA, NASCAR, UMP rules, sanctioning bodies and all that good fun stuff. But other than that, the cars, they all got their own sponsors, they got their own coloring scheme, they got different wheels and rim color. They're all required to have the same tires, but they all got different rim colors and all that stuff too. So that's sort of what the visual appeal is, definitely what makes racing more of an entertaining spectator sport. But I mean, even just something as simply as watching cars going by on the freeway. Every single car, just about probably 95% of every single car you see, there's absolutely no individual expression to them. They look like they came off an assembly line made by those all robotic arms that put all the doors on and weld stuff and put spot welds on where they're supposed to put it on so that the crumple zones are around the passengers and that the car is safe and everything. So basically, the truckers though are pretty good about having some type of uniqueness to them. I mean, it might be something as simple as a Confederate flag on the grill or a teeth on the grill or some type of graphics on the side or whatever the case may be, or some weird lighting scheme that makes the truck look pretty cool. But they definitely personalize their vehicles a little bit, which makes them a little bit more interesting to see. Now, yeah, you'll get these cars out there where they put big rims on and they might paint it a nice color. Those cars usually look pretty cool. And yeah, you can always look at it and say, oh, you know, that may not be, I wouldn't have done it that way or blah, blah, blah. But I mean, just as somebody attempting to personalize their car, it makes it look pretty cool. No, yeah, I mean, you can personalize your hairstyle and all that stuff too, which is all well and great and dandy and everything too. But you know, it's just the artistry is definitely the spice to life. Oh yeah, you can go through life and look at brick buildings and square cars and square people and everyone that's supposed to look the same or whatever the case may be. You know, all they got shave heads and hats on and whatever the case may be. There's just not a lot of you know, aesthetics behind that. It's just bland, it's blah, it's lame, it's not very. I mean, you know, not trying to sound shallow here by saying, oh, just judge people by the looks. Judge people by the looks of their car. But I mean, it's sort of like a tip of the iceberg type thing where, you know, if people can express themselves through visual appeal and then gives you at least some idea of what they're like as a deep dive person. Oh yeah, if it takes too much time to do that too, then by all means, it's really not worth it. Like me personally, I thought it was pretty cool when I had long hair, it's way past my shoulders, but never really washed it, never really combed it. It just sort of hung out there and it kind of got in the way all the time. So eventually it got to the point where I was just thinking, yeah, it's probably a good idea just to hack it off and send it to Locks for Love or whatever the case may be. More than likely though, knowing the U.S. Post Office, they probably just tossed it in a dumpster outside because apparently they don't even bother tracking packages. You know, why bother with that whole pesky being responsible with your job and having culpability in that thing? I mean, that's just one of those unnecessary risks that the USPS doesn't really feel like taking, apparently. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to get into just a little bit of health-related stuff for you at home. Now we did have the long Thanksgiving week. Actually, we did film a couple shows over Thanksgiving weekend, but it was a bit skewed. You know, it didn't technically, yeah, last Thursday, Thanksgiving, but we didn't start ours till Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so it had to take a few days off, but we're back now. And one of the things you notice, though, sometimes for people on vacation, when you get out of your routine, you might feel sicker. If you eat a lot of food, you feel full and bloated and all that good fun stuff. So there are a few things to consider as far as when you do go on vacations or when you got a holiday or weekends, and just as far as good health is concerned. And this I pulled off of naturalnews.com. 10 minutes of walking or meditating can reduce anxiety. And it's almost instantaneous because, like for example, even if it's, I mentioned this before a couple times, but even if it's 20 degrees below Fahrenheit, you know, it's still necessary. You know, it's still necessary for me to put on big coveralls and a ski mask and giant wool hats and socks and gloves and mittens, and to get outside and walk around, spend a couple hours outside, you know, every night if possible. Every other night, probably. You know, it's just you're getting fresh air, you're getting outside, you're not breathing in all the weird fumes inside, and then you get to be at one with nature. Now, physical activity assists mental health as well. you got to keep in mind, your body is basically one giant machine that's all integrated into one unit. Now, yeah, when you see certain people that run hours and hours every night or run 10 miles every day, you think like, wow, you know, that must not leave a whole lot of energy left to be smart or something. But I mean, in all reality, if you can challenge your body pretty hard, and it'll amaze you what it's really capable of. Now, yeah, that's not to say that it's indestructible and everything too, because in fact, one of the first times that I found out that the body does have limitations was cross country probably back in high school. You know, they make you run 5 to 10 miles every day. So by about the third day, I felt like there was a railroad spike in my knee. So kind of scaled it down a lot bit after that, and realized that there are physical limitations as well. So, you know, walking a couple hours a night, no problem. Running 10 miles a night, not really for everyone. Plus, there is a certain threshold where when you're just casually walking around, it allows you to think a lot. Your mind starts to work a lot faster, your body warms up a little bit, and your mental health improves significantly. Now, if you're running a lot, seems like you're not really thinking too much, because you're expending so much energy just to move yourself at a high rate of speed that you're not able to think about, you know, how to put together a chicken coop door or something like that. A regular aerobic exercise is just as effective as medication. Now, see, you're not going to find too many people that, see, if you were to take two people, one person, say they do typical standard aerobic exercises every day, or whatever, for 6 months, and then you take somebody else that starts taking serotonin inhibitor reuptake, SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor drugs, or psychotropic drugs. If they take that for 6 months, and you compare them to the person that exercised for 6 months, the person who's taking the SSRI drugs isn't going to say, oh man, I feel so much better, life is so much better, greater now, I'm glad I took those drugs. But if you talk to the person that exercised for 6 months, they're probably going to tell you, hey, this exercise is great and well, and I feel great. My family's happier, my dog is happier, and my hermit crab is happier. So, it's just one of them. I mean, you have to put effort and hard work into pretty much anything you want to get out of it. I mean, yeah, it's just a reality of life. The other day, the Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, you know, they asked him, what is the optimum hours per week that people can work to be great again? He basically said, 80 hours a week. That's about what the average is if you want to change the world. Now, I know it's a bitter pill for a lot of people to swallow, but I mean, he's right. I mean, yeah, if you want to, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to punch a time clock for 80 hours a week. It just means that, you go, like for example, for this show, we satisfy sponsors for 40, 45 hours a week and then dick around with this for about 5 to 10 hours a week, maybe, probably closer to 5 hours a week. So I mean 50 hours. 50 hours, are you going to change the world? Probably not. But I mean, if we started doing better programming and better editing and everything and did 30 hours a week and things got better, yeah, maybe it would change the world. But as long as we can change Elk River and possibly St. Cloud, maybe Sauk Rapids, then I think we're definitely making a step in the right direction. And, 80 hours a week, deep down, it's probably everybody's desire to have a job that they enjoy and believe in so much that they work 80 hours a week. But it's just, I mean, any job I've ever had, it was mostly, some of it was considered high skill, but it was, it's mostly stuff that people can learn and pick up on pretty quickly. So, you can have turnover, and to do, like back in high school, I did pizza delivery for a while. So it was pretty fun at the time. I mean, never 80 hours a week, but it was one of them things where it's just like, first year you learn things, it's great now, but then after that, it's just, you're in cruise control. So to work 80 hours a week, you definitely need to be progressing and advancing your knowledge consistently. And doing different things, a combination of being on your feet and sitting down, in front of a computer and in the field, you just need to have a good balance. Now 80 hours a week putting together parts at a paint sprayer factory, that you're probably not going to change the world doing that, ladies and gentlemen. The amygdala inside your brain operates best on simple, focused tasks. The amygdala controls anxiety and decision making. But yeah, you want a healthy one. And walking and meditating help a lot to focus on individual tasks. See, the nice thing about walking around, you have the option of thinking about other things, but you also have to consider what you're doing too. I mean, if you're just sitting around staring at the TV, you can think about other things, but your brain isn't really moving that fast, your body isn't moving. So it's just overall, it's good for right before you're going to bedtime. Apparently the frequency that the screen gets off, which is supposed to put you in a hypnotic state. So for me it works great, because then I can use that to watch TV 20 minutes before going to bed, lay down, maybe read some news articles on not artificial light, but just on a piece of paper. So if you read on a piece of paper before you go to bed, it helps a lot to be able to go to sleep as well. So ultimately, walking, meditating. Personally, I've never done meditating. Sounds like it's pretty fun though, so I figured sleeping is more or less a version of meditating, but I haven't really looked into it too much. But definitely walking. Yeah, I mean, unless you live in a dangerous neighborhood, or if there's needles and excrement all over the sidewalk, then maybe it's not such a hot idea. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this edition of Tex Messages, The Resurrection. We'll be back in a couple days, and hopefully you will be here to join us. Thank you very much. I salute you.